welcome to another episode of Flicks Fellas. Today we have a little special holiday spooky season movie for you. We are watching Mr. Harrigan's Phone, a Netflix original film that came out on October 5th with a runtime of an hour and 44 minutes, but a lot of it is credits. This movie was written and directed by John Lee Hancock and based on the short story by the infamous Stephen King, notorious spooky writer, and is about when Mr. Harrigan dies, Craig, the teen who befriended and did odd jobs for him, puts his smartphone in his pocket before burial. When the lonely youth sends his dead friend a message, he is shocked when he gets a return text message. Starring Donald Sutherland as Mr. Harrigan, Jaden Martell as the young boy Craig, and Joe Tippett as Craig's dad. It is a small cast of a movie, there's not many characters, not a lot of depth to this one, but let's get right into our first reactions with our resident horror film lover, James. What did you think?
I do not like horror films, and that is a lie. This one, again, I don't even think, I don't know what I would call this movie, but horror is definitely a stretch.
I was going to say the same thing.
I would say, maybe a PSA, but we can get into that later of what this movie's about. But, I don't know. It wasn't bad. I did actually find myself, drawn into the story, and, I enjoyed, it was short enough where I was like, all right, this is a weird plot, but I'm here for it. You know what I mean? I don't think...
It's Stephen King.
Yeah, it's Stephen King. It's also, I feel like Stephen King can touch any, Stephen King can, write something on a napkin, and then that'll be produced into a movie that makes over $1 million. You know what I mean?
By Netflix, nonetheless.
By Netflix, yeah, exactly. But, I don't know, is it something I think you should go out of your way for? I mean, if you're trying... I would use this as, a primer for your spooky season. This is something new that you're
before.
yeah, literally that. Yeah. It's I want to get into the real scary movies, but I need something to kind of get me in the spooky zone. It's Mr. Harrigan's Phone. But that's my general my thought on it. Kev, what do you think?
Yeah, no, this is definitely not a horror movie, and honestly, I think it kind of sucked. I mean, the story's recycled, right? Is it not just Death Wish? Isn't that...
Yes.
Or Death Note?
Death Note is it's a really popular anime. Yeah.
Right. And
yeah.
I don't watch it. I'm not a big anime guy, but I know of it, and Netflix adapted that, and then I'm sitting there, and I'm like, this just seems like that, but also not scary.
Yeah. And Death Note's better written. I didn't watch it.
I think the writing was so weird.
Do you know when Netflix did I never watched that anime. It never happened. I never happened upon it in my travels. But the Netflix adaptation, I remember I was getting on a plane or something, and I was I know people have said this is amazing, and I want to know what it's about. So the Netflix 45-minute adaptation, I'll give it a try. And I watched it, and it was garbage. It was hot garbage. The plot was
but
interesting.
the story's the same. I guess the device is the same, but the writing was weird. The dialogue was weird, and while being a movie about this phone and like James says, kind of a PSA that we'll talk about, but has to do with technology and cell phones, they were so technologically illiterate that it was laughable, painful at times. Where it's she texts him dance with me, and he just said K, and it's not even fucking kids talk like that. Everyone knows K is the passive aggressive thing, so it's just the illiteracy and just the cringiness is weird, and I think it was trying to be a coming of age tale, but it really wasn't. I wasn't emotionally invested in any of the characters at all, so I just think it failed on a lot of fronts. Yeah, the idea of it is interesting, but like I said, it's just a ripoff of something that came before that was better, and they didn't really do anything new with it. So, or anything different. It just, I don't know, it just felt silly, and it felt like an old man rambling at the horrors of technology, and just wasn't that great.
I'll say this too, okay, so it's IMDb has this classified as a horror movie, okay? And they're right. You guys are both right. It is not a horror movie. It's not scary. It's not like it's not even the log line that I read in the beginning of this episode like is so inaccurate to I think like what the movie is about. Like they talk about this man who dies and doesn't die and well, I won't spoil anything, but it's very drawn out in the beginning and you're kind of just like waiting for something big to happen. You're just waiting for some like excitement and then it's just like it becomes this PSA about the dangers of technology and how we're going to get consumed into our phones. And I think he says like fake news at one point. And I'm like, if this is supposed to be like 2003, I think it takes place.
Wasn't a thing.
Or 2004? 2008.
The first iPhone
okay.
came out in 2008.
8 years before Donald Trump runs for president and starts making this fake news common vernacular in the world. But like, it just wasn't true to like the times of like technology being like brought up. So it did feel like, oh, this man is like so wise that he's gonna like he's predicting all these things of what technology is gonna bring, but it's not really wise when you're writing it 13 years or 14 years.
Yeah, you're like retroactively like, hey, what's it called? It's gonna happen.
We
in
predicted
10 years.
this.
And you're like, you wrote it in fucking 2012 or 2022. Like,
yeah. But I'll say this too, like it's not the most exciting. It's a little slow and drawn out. I don't think it was horrible in the way that it like the execution of the style and technique I thought was well done enough that like I wasn't like poking my eyes out trying to end this movie.
Yeah.
So
I never sat
it
there
had
and was
some.
like, let me turn this off.
It was watchable. It had that watchable aspect to it for quality purposes.
Minimum.
Entertainment was a little low. Well, literally, yeah. It's the bare minimum because
did it pain me enough that I didn't turn it off?
To be fair, we have watched plenty of movies on this podcast that have made me just want to turn it off. One of the horror movies actually we've watched on this podcast, I just wanted to turn off.
Yes.
Which one?
Like
shout out that episode.
Things and not seeing them.
Things.
Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say Girl on the Train.
That might as well be a horror. That was horrible.
Which one? I'm sorry.
Girl on the Train.
Oh yeah. That's
the Bollywood adaptation.
Anyway, yeah. Sorry, Joe. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that was good. Yeah, I was also surprised because I'm like, okay, I love Donald Sutherland. Like, he's a great actor. Joe Tippett is one of those faces where you're like, where's that guy from? But no, he has a good resume too. Was on Mayor of Easttown, The Morning Show, The Act, Monster Man. Like, he is a good actor, so I was excited about him. Jaden Martell, the boy who played Craig, he was in It, Knives Out, Midnight Special, and St. Vincent. So like, also a credible actor. Like, I was just kind of surprised that like this wasn't better.
Yes.
And I think it was a writing aspect. And I also think that sometimes like short stories are not meant to be made into movies.
Yeah. It did
without taking more creative liberties.
Joe, I've got a rebuttal to that because Stephen King does have a short story that was made into quite a long movie, and it is fucking
I'm not saying it
fantastic.
can't be done.
One of the best movies
but I
of all
think
time. Can you guess what I'm talking
which
about?
one?
James is trying to figure it out.
Is it Shawshank?
It is Shawshank. That was a
you're
short
right.
Story.
Yeah,
it was only like 100 pages or some shit.
You're right. But that's what I mean. Like, it can be done, but I think because they did it with Shawshank and like they just keep trying to like redo it with him, and it's just not. I don't know. Like, some of them are just like a little bland and
or Stand By Me. Sorry. Another Stephen King was a short story, The Body. Sorry.
But
or,
that's just my take.
Hey Kevin, why don't you keep interrupting Joe? Okay.
It's my favorite pastime.
Joey, I do agree with you though. I feel like it's like I feel like there was a point in this movie where it felt like they ran out of content. Like they're like
yeah. Literally, they were like, we're just showing a bunch of kids in high school and like, yeah. This though, the girl who played his like iPhone love interest probably had the easiest like acting job in the world. She doesn't remember a single line.
She just has to do this. This was her whole role. Ready?
Kevin, do you need
Nailed
a job?
Yeah.
Ryan
You're
Murphy's
hired.
calling me right now.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that gives us enough of our first reactions. Why don't we tell us what you guys are deciding on this one? I'll start with James again.
So honestly, the issue is my brain like looks at this and is like, this is a keep scrolling. But I honestly had fun. I thought it was like good enough. I thought it was good enough. I didn't have an issue watching it. I actually caught myself like where it was like one of those things where I was like, oh, I'm definitely gonna side screen this. And like I was actually like watching it all the way through. So I am gonna say click play. I'm subject to
The buildup of that cat.
I wonder what Kevin's gonna say. Kev, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm
Kev,
scrolling. That
okay.
movie, I'm scrolling. It's not worth your time. Like you can fill your time, your hour and a half with something way better. Or if you're just looking like it's horror movie, like it's Halloween spooky season. Don't pick this. There's like a billion other better movies.
Well, you know what? This one just came out, and
Not that
my critique with the movie is that the trailer and the logline of this, it's not accurate to what this movie's about. Like, they shouldn't be advertising this as a horror movie. It should just be a thriller, mystery,
Coming of
like
age, yeah.
Definitely
sci-fi,
thriller.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Horror is not the right genre for this, so like I went into it with a totally different like mindset. Like James, I didn't think it was terrible. I personally I didn't have fun with it. I thought it was boring most of the time, and like I was every time I got like slightly excited about something, it would let me down, and then it would just kind of be drawn out. So I can't say I'm a strong press play on this one, but
Don't let him influence you. Don't let him influence you.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to say keep scrolling on it.
No.
Unless
Don't-
you are
Don't touch and go there for
horror-
a second.
unless you're a horror junkie who has literally seen everything and you just want something new, you can give it a watch. But like, it's watchable. It's not entertaining. So
Well
there
said.
you have it. There is our first
Thank you for agreeing
reactions.
with me.
It didn't please me. But let's take a quick word from our sponsor Anchor, and we will be right back. And welcome back, gentlemen.
Buenos
We
dias.
have Mr. Harrigan's phone,
Buenos
the
noches.
Netflix original film, which has torn this group apart from the start.
Torn apart. Sunder.
And we at least can all agree that it's not a horror movie.
I was gonna say if it was supposed to be like a horror movie on like the horrors of technology, it drastically failed when Black Mirror just exists, which is
Yes.
just like which is horror. Like that is absolutely, I would say, horror of like the horrors of technology, right? Like
Yes.
Mhm.
definitely a drama, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
And
each
this is-
individual episode of Black Mirror is better than this movie.
Yes. Just because you show a couple of dead bodies does not make you a horror movie.
No.
Like
No.
that doesn't qualify.
This movie probably would have been a lot better if it came out 2008 to 2010, like right
Yeah.
as the first iPhone
I
came
don't even
out.
think so.
Because it is probably not so much better, but because technology is so much more advanced today, they could have made this movie and just adapted it to be more modern
Mhm.
and like what the next stage, like be more like Black Mirror, just be like what is the next stage of technology going to be, and like kind of play into that, and that could be the horror aspect. But it's still not really horror; it's still just like sci-fi thriller at that point.
Yeah.
I truly believe that Stephen King wrote this. I don't know what year he wrote this, but I truly believe that Stephen King came up with this story because he's like, why is nobody reading my books anymore? And then he sat there and he said, these damn kids and their cell phones. And then wrote this whole story about it. And everyone's like, all right, fucking old man, like back to the retirement home for you. Like,
Mhm.
like nobody gives a fuck about
Jokes
like
on
this
you,
doesn't
Stephen
scare
King.
us. Like yes, cell phones and like social media. like cell phones are one thing, but social media is really the horror of
it's
the
like a
world.
drug.
Not so much cell phones. Yeah, they're conduits for it, but like I don't know. This dude's just fucking mad that technology exists and no one wants to read your fucking old ass books anymore. Like nobody wants to like. Obviously, he's got a big following, but he's just being a grumpy pants. I think who doesn't like technology.
Wait, can I just blow your knickers off real quick?
Whoa.
Yes.
Don't talk about Kevin's knickers like that. Talk about
I'm gonna get canceled.
First of all,
whoa.
The book came out in 2020. Like, why are you writing a book in 2020 about the first iPhone? Like, he could have made it more modern and like adaptable.
Yeah,
and
but he
second
didn't.
of all, I didn't even know he was still alive.
Stephen King?
Yeah, he still writes books.
Yeah.
He still writes
Actually,
books.
he did write a good one in like 20. When did he write that? 2018, The Stranger. And they made it into an HBO show. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
But this just screams like angry old man, like complaining about self, like not even talking about the horrors and the like all the issues with like social media and stuff, because that I can get behind. The Social Dilemma, terrifying documentary.
Yes.
But it's way scarier than this movie. But just complaining about kids like absorbed in their phones and texting, like that just screams like
angry old man.
Hey,
old man,
you kids.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
What's it called? Can we talk about like the truest and like most tasty irony is the fact that I never read this fucking short story, but I watched this movie adaptation from Stephen King about the terrors of cell phones on my cell phone in 2022.
Joke's on you, Stephen King.
Someone's still better, dummies.
Or that I was like browsing my cell phone while this dumbass movie was playing in the background.
Oh my god, that's so funny. The logline is about Mr. Harrigan dies.
That he does.
The trailer that they show is him running down the stairs and saying, "Dad, Mr. Harrigan, text me from the grave. He's not dead." I don't think he died until an hour and 16 minutes into the movie.
I would say you're absolutely correct. Like he
was alive for at least half of the movie. Yes.
Which that alone built up some suspense because I knew he was gonna die, but I'm just waiting how is he gonna die? But then you just see him slowly get more and more deteriorating, and it's like, oh, he doesn't die dramatically. He just dies.
Yeah.
And it was so weird. Why are you waiting so long to die, to kill him off, when this movie is supposed to be about him talking to Craig through this cell phone, and that's only actually 20 minutes of the movie.
And it happens 3 times.
This movie should be called Craig Reads a Book to Mr. Harrigan for an hour and a half.
Yeah, god dang, dude. It was so annoying. It was that part of the movie was boring as hell. Like when he's like, I just get bullied at school and go read to this old guy for $5 an hour.
It was definitely him trying to pay homage.
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 Soft H.
Soft Homage.
Homage.
Kid made out well though. $800 fucking $1,000.
Oh yeah.
That's not bad.
No, that's not bad.
Great day's work right there.
Oh yeah, 100%. It was $5 an hour plus an $800K scholarship.
Yeah, but
that's
my point
not bad.
Is, I think it was just him trying to be look at all these great books we have in our arsenal in the world, and we should be reading more and spending less time on our phones and talking to old people more. And it's just
it sounds like a really
soapy, and it wasn't exciting at all.
Yeah, it sounds like a very, very targeted message for an old author in a world of technology.
Yeah.
He's like, no one talks to me anymore.
And then also, I guess frustrating, but with Stephen King, a lot of his stuff, he'll leave things in that are kind of up to interpretation, right? I guess a lot of Stephen King movies will end or have aspects to them that's just kind of open, right, for you to interpret. So, and I understand that is a thing, but the texts are never really fully explained.
No.
Other than him speculating that last text.
Yeah, it's
and
like
what that meant.
CCC something.
And you know that's his initials, but the first two texts, they just are like, yeah, we're not going to tell you what this means. And it's like not even like, oh, like let me interpret it, because they don't talk about it enough where you can be like, oh, maybe it means this or maybe it means this. They're just gibberish. It's what Stephen King probably first texted on his iPhone because he couldn't fucking figure out how to text. So like, I don't know. That annoyed the shit out of me because I was like, they're just going to like forget about those other ones. Like the easiest one to interpret, he interprets, but then the rest are just like, whatever. Like, I don't know. That annoyed the shit out of me.
Well, it was always CCC, right? AA?
Yeah.
Well, it was CCC, AA, and then like
And then it was like AA,
two
CCC.
letters, and then CCC, and then X.
Oh, I don't even...
I don't remember.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. They don't show you enough so that you can, that it's actually this piece of the movie that you can interpret other than the last one. And I'm like, what the fuck's the point of that?
Yeah, and
like,
they
they
also
also
really cool plot device of like being able to talk to the dead through this cell phone, and it's like it only is being used for one purpose, and it's not even like they could have just done so much more with it.
Yeah.
That's what this movie's
Agreed.
about, is that Craig uses his cell phone to call Mr. Harrigan's phone after he passes away to vent to him when he's stressed, kind of like an audio journal type of diary thing. And what happens is things that Craig vents about end up being impacted in the real world. And he puts the correlation that when he complains to Mr. Harrigan over the phone, that Mr. Harrigan then takes things into his hands by getting revenge for Craig from the afterlife. Could have been so much cooler.
But then
could have been way better.
But wait, but then there's also more confusion with like he calls him after he dies in March.
Yes.
I think it was in March. Okay.
Yes.
Like immediately after they put his fucking body in the ground, and then he calls him that night, and he's like, or he texts him, and he's like,
He calls him and then texts him.
Yeah, but then the text said, like, I will miss our afternoon conversations, whatever. And then the letter that was given to him by his executor, which was written 2 months ago.
2 months before. Yeah, 2 months before.
Answers that text.
Yes. Says, I also will miss it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll miss
So,
it
but
too.
they don't go into that at all. That
at all.
that he had some
future sight.
Well, no,
Right,
it could
like,
have
what
also
the
just
fuck?
been the executor could have just said, and I found this in his desk this morning. And that could have been it. It didn't have to be like he gave it to me 2 months ago and
intentionally
he can
put in that timeline. So there's obviously something there, but they don't go into that. And like, you know, in Stephen King's more sci-fi shit, like I like that world building of it, like in it, like this benevolent creature from space or
Malevolent.
Definitely not
from
benevolent.
Space.
Not
yeah,
benevolent.
definitely
malevolent
not.
creature from space that feeds on fear and needs to eat every X amount of years, like, and comes out and like shows itself in ways that scare people. And The Stranger is the same thing, but on grief. And like the whole fucking Gunslinger series and like all that kind of stuff, all that world building and the abilities and the Shining, like this ability that they have, and they do talk about it a little bit, enough to speculate. This they just don't. Like maybe it's The Shining, like knowing Stephen King connect, like maybe he has The Shining, maybe that's part of this. I don't know. I haven't read speculations, but like I don't know. It just didn't give you enough, you know?
Yeah.
Could it be The Shining? Now I'm just thinking in my head. Could it be like a tie to The Shining?
I hope not. IMO.
Because all his shit is like technically connected, right?
There's a lot of connections, but I don't think they're all.
Because that's the whole point of the Gunslingers. There's like these gates that connect all
like
these
timelines.
Different universes.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. I haven't read the Gunslingers.
Isn't
I've read like the
but that's called the Dark Tower, right? That's the series is called the Dark Tower.
Yes. The first movie's the Gunslinger, but the Dark Tower series, which I didn't read. I think it connects a lot of stuff, like Stand By Me, and like it, and like it is like a creature that shows up in like a lot of different stuff. And The Shining's really important because it's like an ability people have. Anyway, I'm annoyed that they didn't go into that whole thing more. Yeah, like there was way more that could have been. But yeah, that was just a frustration of mine. I feel like they just like didn't have any real direction. I don't know.
Well, and that's what I mean. Like, there are clearly some of his works that are better than others, worth being made into larger movies and universes.
Yep.
And this one was just like a present day movie told about the past, and I don't know. It didn't sit right with me. I was uncomfortable the whole time.
It was. I
Also,
think that like this is a movie that like the more you kind of dig into it, the more disappointed you're going to be. I don't think there's a lot there. Like there was only really like a big issue I had with the movie was the fact that like there was no real progression once the supernatural part of the movie happened. Like the two kills that happened almost seemed completely disconnected, and there was no like change of character or like real threat to the main character. So it felt just kind of weird. Like he was watching, like it almost felt like he was watching the movie with us, you know, like, oh, these crazy things are happening and I know that they're happening. And it's like the first time he like was pretty sure. And the second time he's like, oh, I want this guy dead. And then he dies. And you're like, okay, definitely Mr. Harrigan. And then he's like,
there was no like real question.
There's no question. And there was no like, okay, there was no point where he went too far. Like I was kind of looking for it was like, oh, like he could no longer control Mr. Harrigan and he's like killing people that he doesn't want like people to kill. But that never happened. There was no risk ever. Like it was like Mr. Harrigan made 2 kills, both of which the dude almost literally asked for. And then like I thought that Mr. Harrigan, like a more interesting plot to me, and this is what I thought was going to happen, was when he gets the call, like post college, when Craig gets the call that the teacher dies, right? Like his favorite teacher dies. Like it's like Mr. Harrigan mad at Craig because he put the phone away. You know what I mean? For so long. Like I thought that was going to be a really cool story beat, and now he has to figure out how to stop Mr. Harrigan. You know?
Yeah.
But it's like a drunk driver. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, that's just sad. You know?
It was the only motivation was so that like the whole of that plot aspect was that it would upset Craig enough to ask him to kill another person. And it worked. And it's like,
but
you could have just done more with it. You could have made it Mr. Harrigan upset that he hasn't talked to him in all these years. And
agreed. But they also immediately resolve it. Like immediately after the kill, they're like, he's like, oh, I regret it. I'm a bad person. And you're like, and he's like, I guess I'm just going to stop asking this ghost to kill people, you know? And you're like, okay.
Cool. Yeah,
cool.
Great.
I also
great
hate the whole
character
speculation that like that last text is like, oh, Mr. Harrigan, like, are you upset with me that I'm making you do this and you're asking me to stop? But then it's like, probably not, because he was killing those fuckers in the most creative, fucking ironic ways possible. Like, this dude was having a blast killing these two people. Like, he's like, let me feed. Oh, you made a joke about feeding you shoe polish. Eat this shoe polish, you fat fuck. And then the drunk driver with the soap, he's like, I'm gonna make you choke on fucking soap that my buddy wanted to use. Like, that's fucking wild. That ghost was having a fucking blast.
Oh, 100%. Did you guys... Go ahead, Jay.
I was gonna say, I need to ask a question real quick, because there was one part of the story that I didn't understand. And it was when he went to that, like, trailer park, and he was looking for a couple that I didn't know who that couple was and why they killed themselves.
The guy...
Was it a couple or just the dude?
It was just a guy. It was a guy that used to be the groundskeeper, and basically what happened was he stole something from Mr. Harrigan, like before like Craig was even involved, and it was one of those things where people like alluded like, oh, Mr. Harrigan, like because Mr. Harrigan was very much like, oh, like I take care of all of my problems like brutally or whatever, and you're like, all right, whatever, weird old guy, and like they're like, you know, like they move on, and then you're like, well, at least it didn't happen like Josh, and you're like, who the hell's Josh? And they're like, don't ask about Josh. And then he like goes to the trailer park and like, who the fuck is Josh? And then like, oh yeah, Josh killed himself in his house, and he wrote FUH, and nobody knows what that means. And you're like, well, he worked for Harrigan for 25 years. You know, the richest guy in New England. Yeah. I just can't understand what these 3 letters mean.
But then again, also so fucking stupid. Like, they don't go any deeper on that. Like,
Yeah, that's what I
just
mean.
like-
Like, it was just like a weird plot point that they were just like, okay, done.
Also, he wasn't a ghost then. Like, he wasn't a ghost when that guy died. So did he like? Are they insinuating that Harrigan, like, as a person, murdered this
Just
guy
like-
in his house?
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know. That's fucking weird.
Ridiculous. I don't know.
I have one
I
more.
don't know.
I was offended by the look of the bully. He just was an uncomfortable looking
Yeah,
character.
he looked like a fucking. dweeb.
He's in shit, right? That guy.
No, he looks
He
like
was
a
in
guy that's in
Zoolander, too.
stuff. He
What
looks.
was he in?
He
He
looks
was
like
in Zoolander too.
That's
Kevin. Kevin, you think he looks like the guy that's like in the Spider-Man movies? He's in a ton of stuff. It's the guy who's got the same haircut. It's
Who am I thinking?
I know who
of?
you're thinking about. It's not the same guy. He's in Stranger Things. He's in Spider-Man:
No,
Homecoming.
he's not in Stranger Things.
He is in Stranger Things. He runs the video store that Robin and
Fuck yeah, he is. That is who
yeah.
I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
He's in
that's who you're
Homecoming too.
Yeah, he's in Homecoming too. He's like a chaperone or like one of the older kids. Like it's like a throwaway line. Like did he like
Weird, dude. That's so
Yeah.
good that you know exactly who I was talking about.
No, because I thought the same thing. I was like, oh, that guy's the guy from Spider-Verse, and I'm or not Spider-Verse, but Homecoming. And then I was like, wait,
Remember him in
his
Homecoming.
face kind of looks different, and he looks younger. Hold on, and then I looked it up, and it was not the same guy.
See, I was gonna say he looks like the serial killer in Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Leatherface.
I don't know if I
Maybe,
agree with
maybe,
that.
Joe. Maybe. Yeah.
I
You
don't
might
think
be
so.
Right.
There was just
The lack
I'm gonna
of
put it-
chainsaw and skin mask makes me think.
I'm just gonna put up a side-by-side comparison when I'm editing this, and you'll see. You'll all
Oh.
see. He just had like
Yeah.
an uncomfortable like look to him that was like
Definitely like slimy.
cringeworthy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he
And that's
he
how I
definitely
felt
looks slimy.
with
Not
Leatherface.
fully evolved.
Yeah.
Not fully evolved. He's like a Neanderthal. He's like, you come to that
He's
guy's whole
still
life.
a human. Yeah.
Yeah,
Poor
that
guy.
guy has a job, Kevin. That was that guy's job.
His job was to be an ugly fucking asshole. That was literally what he got paid to do in this movie.
Yeah,
And
he did it
Kevin's
well.
about to steal that other girl's job. Yeah. the-
you had to coworkers with this guy.
it's not
Yo.
even opening her mouth. It's just
Yeah, did you guys think it was uncomfy? I found this scene very uncomfy, and I found it very weird. There's like the scene when he gets like Craig gets the crap beat out of him at the school dance, right? And like he's standing there, and like they chase off the bad guy, and like his date brings him to his favorite teacher, and she's like cleaning him up, and then he starts commenting on her soap, and I'm like, what the fuck is this scene turning into? I'm
Dude,
uncomfy.
Weird sexual tension
Yeah,
in that scene.
weird.
Sexual tension in that scene. Weird sexual tension in that scene with his mom. Like that was fucking weird, dude. When they're dancing around in the fucking flower fields,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
she
yeah,
makes him
yeah,
a flower crown and just hugs him close. I was
Yeah.
like, what are you talking about, old man? I'm like,
Yeah.
someone take
It's
the
just
pen
weird.
out of this old man's hands. Like,
I don't know if that's
he
Stephen-
needs
I
to
don't-
be stopped.
Yeah.
He needs
I don't
to
know
be
if that's-
stopped.
I don't know if that's Stephen King or just like the director of this movie is like, I want people to think that there's something going on here, and I'm never going to talk about it ever again. And then you're like, I didn't like that.
I like Stephen better. I like Stephen King better when he was all fucked up on cocaine and writing some crazy fucking stories, dude. Now he's writing some fucking weird shit, like just sexual shit, and I'm just like, I'm done with it. Weird sex shit and weird fucking stories about cell phones. He's so mad about cell phones. Like, dude, go do a line of Blow and give me another fucking Carrie book or some shit. I don't know.
Kevin, I hope that at some point this podcast becomes big enough where you can like meet Stephen King or like Stephen King's son and just be like, yeah, let's pull up a clip from like 2022 and just talk about that really quick.
By the time this podcast blows up to that size,
He's
he'll be
probably
fucking
dead.
6 feet under, dude. He'll
Yeah,
be
that's
Mr.
true.
Harrigan's phone.
Yeah, but then you can call him.
yeah. He'll be calling. You'll find me on the ground like this
you're his first victim.
with fucking shoe polish in my
No
mouth.
cell phone to you, did he just take
Just-
it upon himself?
With
to
no,
kill
with a
you?
cell phone down my throat.
It was so weird. He just started sucking on his cell phone.
He choked himself to death with his cell phone.
Wait, did he have an iPhone or an iPhone XL? They're like XL, and everybody goes, "Oh!"
They're like, which table did he sit at? The iPhone table.
Ah, that's so funny.
Okay, I think
I think we got
I
this
agree.
movie.
we
in
got
the
this
bag.
movie. in the
Locked
bag.
it up.
6 feet under.
Just like Mr. Harrigan, that old fuck.
Do you- Let's
Pirate
play a
King.
game.
That
Yeah,
was weird
also
too. We didn't even
fucking
talk about that. That's what I'm talking about. One.
James just goes.
He's like, hey,
Pirate
Craig. He's like, they used to call me Pirate King back in the day, but not for
Yar.
good reasons. And you're like, oh, like, was this guy a badass or was he doing some sus ass shit? Like, was he
No, he just downloaded a lot of songs on LimeWire.
He didn't even know what a cell phone or the internet was, but
Oh my god.
yeah, that was weird. And like again, the illiterateness, that's how you know that it's just an old man who looked up like social media words and like handle came up and he's like, "Oh, like that's what you put in your cell phone. Like that's your handle." And it's like, "No, it's
But
fucking
that
not."
was-
Like
I was
you
no
couldn't have
one
been
said that.
further from what the fuck a handle is, you goddamn
Yeah.
idiot.
Yeah.
Take the pen out of his fucking hands.
Kevin's like, "Thank God, Mr. Harrigan's dead."
Put Stephen King in a home. He doesn't know what he's talking about anymore.
Do we hate Stephen King? The world will never know.
Look, dude, I got a few Stephen King books on my shelf over there. There's not many books on that shelf, but there's a portion that are Stephen King. Don't hate the guy at all, but I'm thinking he's run his course a little bit.
We're getting
All
the
the
epilogue, you're saying?
All the Stephen King books up there were written in his cocaine days, so if that tells you anything.
Oh my god.
All right, Joey,
Wasn't
I'm
it?
sorry for distracting us.
No, that was a great distraction.
And
Um,
Uzi.
Gabe.
Whoosies. Let's play the
Game.
game. Kev, we're going to start with you, Tomato Meter. What do you think the 56 reviews averaged out to?
Thermometer.
58.
58.
I'm gonna go with a cool 50 on this one.
Ooh. The
I'm thinking
correct-
there's some other senile like movie critics out there who are like, yeah, bad cell phones. Like, so they got a collective one.
I hate cell phones.
No, the correct score was 45.
My grandkids want to FaceTime me, and I don't know what that means.
Nobody reads my reviews in the papers anymore.
So, okay, I didn't know this feature in Tomato Meter, but if you look at all critics' scores, the all 56 reviews averages out to 45%, so James is closer. However, if you look at just the top critics, which is only 15 reviews, the average is 53, which James still would win, but
I'd be
I'm
closer.
surprised that the top critics
No, you wouldn't.
actually
No, you
helped.
wouldn't.
Well, closer than
Give it a
the
better
the
score.
other one.
Yeah. And with that, let's go to the audience score. Kev, we'll start with you again.
I'm thinking it's what was the tomato meter? 45?
45.
41?
41.
No, it's definitely higher. It's got to be like,
You think it's higher?
I think it's 50. No, I'm gonna go 61.
61. That's high. The correct answer is 51, James. You almost had it. I don't think we've
Overshot
ever
it.
gotten it spot on. Maybe once in the
Mhm.
beginning.
We've gotten Metacritic.
I've gotten one.
the
one.
Metacritic.
I know that
the
I've gotten
Metacritic
one.
we used
yeah.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no. So certified rotten. Actually,
Oof.
rotten. It was rotten.
yeah.
It's a stinky duty.
Yeah.
Let's get into our double downs. James. Actually, no. Let's stick with Kevin because I'm curious. to
Stick
see
with
where
me because
James
you
goes.
know mine's not changing. I think
Yeah.
we might have gotten James, but I'm not changing. Keep scrolling. Stephen King's a senile old man. James.
I think I am gonna switch. I think this is. I'm not
Let's
doubling
fucking
down.
go.
This is gonna be a keep scroll. It's not worth. There's better movies for an hour and a half. I agree.
Yeah, better Stephen King movie. I'd rather read a Stephen King novel for an hour and a half than watch a movie.
Yes.
So, Yeah, I am the same, that I would rather keep scrolling on this one. So double down for me as well. And that is our in-depth analysis and review on Mr. Harrigan's Phone. Let us know what you think below in the comments on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe if you like this content, if you want to get more. And make sure to give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Spotify helps us a lot. We also have ways to interact with us on social media. So support us out. Help us. It's free. We love the feedback. Let us
We
know
love
what
it.
you think and what you want to see next. Happy spooky season, everybody.
Mwahahaha.
Ciao, ciao.
Till next time.